I'd like to welcome everyone to our annual Judith Dan Memorial Lecture. This is a very special occasion every year that we're able to host a speaker, Le'uli, to speak on behalf of the Neshama, Mrs. Dan. And I just wanted to share one brief thought that in the past week's Torah portion, we have a fascinating phrase that we say every morning when we enter shul. When you enter the shul, the Beit Knesset, you say, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. How good and beautiful are the tents, the homes of the Jewish people. So it's a little strange. First of all, this was said by Bilam, an evil prophet, when he was about to curse the Jewish people, and the curse turned into a blessing. But besides that, it doesn't seem to make sense, because Bilam looked and saw Jewish homes. That's who he was praising. Why would we say that phrase when we enter the shul? It's better said when you enter your home. You should say, Ma tovu, look at how beautiful a Jewish home is. Why do we say how beautiful a Jewish home is when we enter the shul? So I think perhaps the answer is that when we enter the shul, we're supposed to remember the place that we build holiness is in our homes. The ikar, the main reality of Judaism, is not this makom, this place. It's a Jewish home. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, how beautiful is a Jewish home, because it's a mini sanctuary. So when we enter shul, always remember that you're coming here to experience God and holiness, but only with the understanding that you'll go back and turn your own home into such a place. The commentaries tell us that what Bilam saw was the fact that the tents of the Jewish people, the beauty of their homes, besides the holiness, was that the entrances did not face one another. And that was so that there was a sense of privacy and dignity in each home, a sense of modesty. I think when we come together in remembrance, one of the things we remember about Mrs. Dan is her modesty, her privacy. And that really is the essence of what creates the holiness of a Jewish home. And even the most evil people recognize that. So it should be that as we all learn and get a glimpse into perhaps another reality tonight from our guest speaker, that one thing we take with us is the commitment to create a home of modesty, of spirituality, and to keep in mind that there should be, for an Aliyah's neshama, it should be that the neshama is lifted higher under the protection of the Almighty's wings and the merit of our efforts to create a beautiful Jewish home. I'd like to introduce, representing the family, someone who doesn't need an introduction, certainly in this makom, in this place, and many, many places throughout the world, a person who was extremely modest and private and dignified, and yet at the same time understands our responsibility to change the world for the better, Mr. Leslie Dan.
Thank you for your kind words, Rabbi Mandel. Honored speaker, ladies and gentlemen and friends. On behalf of my family, my daughter Ender and Stuart, and the rest of us, I'd like to thank Aish and the village for organizing every year a memorial lecture, remembering the passing of my wife, Judith, in July 1995. Our family is touched by the warmth about my wife, which is pouring out of the members of Aish, and we are thankful for that. We are equally impressed by the high caliber of speakers remember my late wife and deliver their intellectually stimulating lectures. Tonight is no exception, and we are most thankful that Mrs. Esther Wein came to the Village Hill from New York and will present her erudite lecture. My late wife had a very interesting background. Her father was a Russian immigrant, having arrived in Winnipeg at the turn of the 20th century as a young boy, while her mother was born in Canada of Russian parentage. Both came from Orthodox families, where the patriarchs had long beards, observed strict kosher and Orthodox way of life. For some strange reason, perhaps as a rebellion to the structured style of Orthodoxy, both parents of Judy completely abandoned the Jewish religion, to the extent that they never attended synagogues, unless it was for a wedding or a bar mitzvah. They never lit Shabbat candles, and I doubt that they ever observed Passover. Notwithstanding, they were very compassionate, honest, upright, and well-respected individuals in the Jewish community. They practiced the very values of Judaism without the religious trappings and rituals. I should point out that in the later years, my in-laws visited Israel for the first time. They were most impressed with the country, in particular with Boys Town, to the extent that they made a very substantial donation to Boys Town in their legacy, and several computer rooms were named after them. In short, they were not religious, yet their hearts, their emotions did belong to Israel. Out of this totally irreligious environment, my wife emerged with a practically zero knowledge of Judaism. Of course, after we got married, it was a cultural and a religious shock for her to become exposed to Judaism, which she did because we were members of Temple Emmanuel, a Reformed synagogue. Over the years, my family became involved with all facets of Judaism, including the Village Hill, as mentioned, Clark Hill, and of course, Aish Torah building in Jerusalem. We are non-critical and non-judgmental, and we support all groups, all facets of Judaism. My late wife agreed with this approach and supported it. A momentous event in Judy's life took place when the Aish building was dedicated in October 1994 in Jerusalem. When we arrived at the site of Jerusalem, we realized that she would not be able to enter the building because she was in a wheelchair, and the building was located on a hill. Suddenly the thought crossed our minds that she could be lifted on the platform of a crane, which had access to the top of the building. Well, this was a bit of a novel idea, to move the wheelchair on a platform and to lift it some 100 feet. Then we asked, what if the wheelchair might slip off the platform, which could happen? Then we had another ingenious idea. Let's put the Rabbi Weinberg also in the platform. And with the rabbinic protection, surely there should be no mishap or any problem. Well, it worked. And the crane gently lifted my wife and the somewhat mystified and reluctant rabbi to the Aish side. And both were warmly welcomed by a large number of dancing, singing, exultant and exuberant students, rabbinical students. I should mention that over the years, my late wife did become attracted to Judaism. She could not read Hebrew, but she was a very talented artist, and she expressed her connection to Judaism by creating many beautiful Judaic artwork, such as menorahs weaved by ropes, wall hangings, Iron Kodesh covers, which are exhibited in several synagogues and also in private homes. So let me digress for a moment. Every day, when we pray in the synagogues, we say Kaddish for the departed souls. We firmly believe that at death, the body returns to earth, but the soul lives on. Otherwise, why would we say Kaddish? This is not an imagination or a dream, but a reality. The soul lives on forever, unless it returns and reincarnates, because the soul is a form of energy breathed into the human beings at birth by the Almighty. And being a form of energy, it is indestructible. In short, I know that the soul of my late wife exists and lives in the parallel world, and by some mysterious way, she's aware that a moving and beautiful memorial lecture is given in her honor and remembrance, which she appreciates. In conclusion, I would like to thank you very much for organizing this and attending this event, and we also thank very much Mrs. Wein to deliver her memorial lecture. Thank you.